Good evening, and thanks for tuning in to the video discussion produced for the Central Minnesota Weather Blog on February 6, 2010. This discussion will be focusing mainly on the upcoming winter storm possibility tomorrow continuing into Tuesday morning. I'm going to first start by talking about the blizzard that walloped the mid-Atlantic states last night and into today, and then going into the specifics of the storm affecting central and southern Minnesota for early this next week, including going over the current watches and warnings, the storm hazards, and I'll be going through the storm and how it will progress over the next couple days, and then finally I'll finish up with a little bit of the long-range forecast. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the blizzard that struck from about central Illinois into the mid-Atlantic states yesterday afternoon and into this afternoon. It will be a blizzard for the record books. It will likely be remembered as the blizzard of 2010 because of the very impressive snow totals it produced. These snow totals fell within 24 hours, and as you can see here, Elk Ridge, Maryland was the winner for the most snow out of this storm with 38.5 inches of snow, all of which fell within about a 24-hour period. Dulles International Airport with 32.1, Philadelphia with 26.7, Royal Oak, Maryland with 23.5, Washington, D.C. with 20, and Reagan International Airport with 17 inches of snow. Here's a couple photos from the mid-Atlantic states where they got hit very hard. This photo is out of Maryland, where they received 24 inches of snow in this picture. This photo is from Kaiser, West Virginia, where they received 31 inches of snow. This is from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where they received 20 inches of snow. And this photo is from Belcamp, Maryland, yesterday afternoon, showing how heavily the snow was falling. And the snow was falling anywhere from 2 to 4 inches per hour late yesterday afternoon and continuing into overnight, which is why those locations got such an excessive amount of snow. Now I'll get back to the weather in central and southern Minnesota. As you can see here, there are winter storm watches as indicated by this dark blue shading and winter storm warnings as indicated by this pink shading in effect for much of the southern and central Minnesota area. The exception is southwestern and southeastern Minnesota, where these areas are forecast to receive less snow. Here's the surface analysis produced by the Hydrometeorological Prediction Center at 4:16 p.m. this afternoon. Here is the blizzard that affected the mid-Atlantic states, and other than that, the weather is very quiet right now across the country, but that will change in less than 24 hours. Here's a quick overview of the storm hazards with our upcoming snowstorm. Heavy snow, high winds, and cold temperatures will all be present. Heavy snow will be the most significant hazard, though. So before I show details on the snowfall from this storm, I want to first go through how this storm is going to progress over the next few days here. This is a surface map at 6 a.m. tomorrow, and here's our little storm dropping almost due south out of Canada and into northwestern Minnesota. It is at this time that it will be spreading light snow into much of Minnesota, with possibly the exception of southeastern Minnesota. This is at noon tomorrow, and the storm continues to drop south and produce light snow over all of Minnesota at this point, with an area of more moderately heavy snow developing just to the east of the low pressure center in northwestern and west central Minnesota. By tomorrow night at 6 p.m., the storm will be located about on the South Dakota-Minnesota borderline and producing light snow again over all of Minnesota, with an area of moderately heavy snow falling in west central Minnesota. This is by 6 a.m. on Monday. The storm is sitting over south central Minnesota and producing a band of moderately heavy snow across the central, or rather two-thirds of the eastern two-thirds of the state. And after this image, this is the last image that I have to show, but this storm will play a very critical role in how this storm down here affects places like southern Kansas into northern Texas and up into the Ohio Valley and locations such as Chicago and Indianapolis. These two storms will phase together, producing one large storm down here in Missouri, and it will zip up into the Ohio Valley after that. Now for a few specifics on the storm. This is a map showing where the greatest snowfall will likely fall. This blue shaded area is the locations likely to have the most significant snow, and there will be significant snow outside of this, with the exception being far southwestern Minnesota, where this low pressure passes directly overhead tomorrow night. Those areas will not see as much. Otherwise, this is the area that will likely see the most significant snow over the next 2 days. Here's my preliminary snowfall forecast for this storm. These lighter blue areas in southwestern Minnesota and then in Wisconsin and northeastern Minnesota are areas that are going to see 1 to 3 inches of snow. This dark blue area is 3 to 6, and the purple shaded area is 6 to 8 inches. Now there will likely be an area somewhere in this 6 to 8 inches that sees 8 to 12, possibly more, inches of snowfall out of this storm, but at this time there's not enough certainty as to where this will fall, because it's going to be a very thin band of 8 to 12 plus inches that does fall. It is not going to be widespread, likely no more than 50 to 75 miles wide where that does fall. But a widespread 3 to 8 inches of snow will fall across central and southern Minnesota. This map will change over the next 24 hours as the forecast models come into a little more agreement about how this storm will pan out. The latest computer models actually, if they would turn out to be correct, these snowfall totals will need to be upped by anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of snow, because they are showing a much more moist system than previously shown. So this is something that needs to be watched, and I will update the blog with another map tomorrow once the computer models come into a little bit more agreement. Since we have such an active short-term forecast, I did not look too much into the long-range forecast, but the long-range forecast continues to show a negative AO and NAO index, and when those indexes are negative, that often indicates colder temperatures, colder than normal temperatures, but would mean drier weather. So the long range, I am calling for possibly colder weather, especially after this storm passes around Wednesday and Thursday this next week. It could get colder, but after this storm it will likely be dry. This concludes the video discussion for the evening. As always, I really appreciate feedback, so if you have any feedback or questions, please feel free to email me or post a comment on the blog, and I will get back to you. Please stay up to date regarding the snowstorm coming up here. I will do my best tomorrow to be posting maps as things change. Thanks for watching.